Hey, it's Jimmy. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our third webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about centrifugal fluid pumps. First, I'd like to talk a little bit about, I want to say good morning to Michelle, my co-host here. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Hey, there she is. Good morning, sunshine. So a little bit first before we get started, I'd like to tell everybody, man, we're growing here at H&M Plating. We just finished another grind building that we added on to our shipping facility. Maybe on the next webinar, we'll have some pictures of that. We're about to move all of our machines over there. We're adding a bunch more machines. It's pretty amazing because we've already got more equipment than just about anybody in the city for sure, but man, just about anybody in the country as far as grinding, honing, ID grinding, and all of our abilities with honing and just all the specialty stuff that we can do with polishing. So as we go through this, today we're gonna talk about centrifugal fluid pumps, and we're gonna discuss how they operate, how we can actually make sure that we get the most use out of them. So let's go to slide one. So obviously you guys know a little bit about us. If you haven't been on here before, obviously you guys know that we were established in 1971. We're over 50 years old. We've got a little bit of history doing this. We are ISO certified. You know, we own Schumacher, Dixie, Mirror, and South Coast Grinding, and constantly looking to be able to grow. So we've got a ton of experience. When we picked up those companies some of those companies have actually been around longer than we have. So we've got tons of knowledge and a whole lot of experience doing this. So as far as our services go, we've got hard chrome, sulfamate nickel, the HVOF. We've got all of the spray coatings that you can do, plasma, electric wire arc, your tungsten carbides. We use the HVOF, not the HVAF. So, and then of course we can do the phosphate coating. We service a variety of different companies: oil, petrochemical, marine, hydraulics, the refineries, manufacturing, you name it. If they want to coat it, we will figure out a way to coat it, guys. Here's the scary picture of me here on the left. Please don't be alarmed. Don't try and get the Halloween costume. And then there's the beautiful Michelle there on the right. I know. You guys are probably going to call her first. So I get it. Right, Michelle?
Right.
Right. So before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the things that H&M does different than anybody else in the business. This morning at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm going to kind of go off script here, but this morning, 6:30 in the morning, I get a text message from a customer that needs me to come out and give them a quote and some advice on how they can actually repair a pump housing. And of course, me being the guy that, you know, it's already up at 6:30 in the morning, usually up at 4 in the morning, working out, is like, sure, I'll come by on the way in and I'll bring you guys breakfast. So just one of the things that customer service does for you. And I don't know of anybody else in the industry right now that is that flexible. Well, they're just at the drop of a hat, come out, see what you got, help you out of a situation, and get you back on the road and get your customer happy. So I just don't know anybody else that does that. So again, I went out, saw them, we quoted it. We'll see what happens. We talked about how we're going to resolve the problem, and we'll get them back out and get them repaired, and their customers should be happy. So big customer communication. My customers, when they call us, they know that we're working. We work 24/7. Michelle is a true testament to that. I can send her an email at 3 o'clock in the morning. She's going to answer it 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. Y'all try and do the same thing with us. If you need something, we're there. So, I mean, that's just what we do. We're open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We've got some part of our facilities running all the time. We've got quick standard service times, you know, anywhere up to from 7 days to 2 weeks on the standard parts. And then, man, depending on what you got, sometimes we can get you out of a jam within just a couple of days. Quality, again, we're 9001 ISO certified. Here at H&M, we've actually got 3 QC guys. They're in each one of our buildings. So, man, we're constantly checking and rechecking parts before they go out the door. Every now and then you have human error, so it is what it is, but we try and catch it before it ever goes out the door. The other thing is that, man, we try and do things that are a little different from everybody else. There's a lot of companies out there that are only going to do the basics. I can only coat and grind OD. That's all I'm going to do. I can't do anything outside my realm. This is the only thing that's in my wheelhouse. Not here. We're going to sit down with you, try and figure out whatever we need to do in order to get your job done. There is no job that's too big or too small or too difficult for us to look at. We will figure out a way. If not, we'll point you in the right direction to at least have somebody that can. So let's go into centrifugal pumps. Here is a diagram that we have of centrifugal pumps, and it basically breaks down all the different parts that are usually the parts that actually break down on the pumps. So as you know, these pumps go into service. We put all sorts of junk through them out in the refineries. They put everything they possibly can, including the kitchen sink, and then they expect it to work. Well, that isn't always the deal. You have to make sure that you maintain these pumps. You have to check your fluids. You got to make sure you're running oils, and they break down. So basically on this diagram, it shows you all the different things that go wrong on pumps and the major things. So you have wear rings that wear out. You have packing areas that fail after a time period of running, and they just wear out. You've got a shaft in here that actually holds your impellers. You've got bearing journals that actually are running on where the bearings go, and a lot of times these wear out. A lot of times your impellers will be locked in there and they still wear out because there's still fluid that gets in there and it eats everything up. So we can grind your shafts. We can coat the IDs on all of your impellers. We can also manufacture your shafts. So just again, these are just some of the things that we can actually help you do. So without further delay, let's get into shaft bearing journals. So in this video, we're actually showing how we line up on a shaft. The biggest thing that we do is there's multiple steps here, but the biggest thing you have to do is you have to start off from A to Z. You have to make sure your shaft, when we put it up between centers, it's running true. Now, if you look at that indicator right there that the guy has on there, man, that is dead nut. You can't get any better than that. So we have to make sure, because we're holding usually a 1/1000th tolerance. On pump shafts, you have up to a 2/1000th tolerance within a 12-inch area. But we try and get it as close to dead nut as we possibly can so that you don't have any run out or any issues where it's actually running. So on this, again, on here, we will center your shaft, and then we'll actually prepare the shaft for coating. Once we prep this shaft, we'll take it and then we will die check the areas that we actually ground. Once we grind those areas, we clean it off. You put a die check on there, and just to make sure that there is no cracks or crevices, anything in that base material that would cause us any other issues moving forward, then we can move forward. So, Michelle, does anybody have any questions yet?
I think we're good right now.
Okay, so if anybody has any questions, by the way, please feel free to
Oh, wait,
ask.
we do have a question. Uh, what is the max diameter and length of the shaft that we can do?
So currently we can do, the max diameter is about 47.5 inches. The length is just under about 240, actually about 20, it's actually 21 foot is what we can do.
Okay.
So, and then we have, now here's the other thing. I can do about 20 foot and in length, and then I can do about 47.5 on that particular machine. I've got other machines that I can do 21 foot and about 25 inch. So we have a variety of different stuff that we can do there. And then on the IDs, we can do pretty big because we have vertical grinders. We can get into, a 30, 40 inch ID if we need to. So if no other questions, I'm going to keep going. So once we prep the shaft, we've die checked it. Now we move it over to our spray team. Spray team goes in, they're going to clean the shaft. They're going to mask all the areas that we're not going to actually repair. And then they are going to blast the area that we're actually going to repair. When we blast that, we actually use a bead blast and we actually test it. So when we test it, we're trying to figure out what the grit is. And I'm not going to tell you what that is because I don't want our competitors to know, but we actually check to make sure we have a certain grid on there in order to have a better bond strength. Once we do that, we move it over to a machine. We only let it sit in once it's been blasted, we only let it sit for maybe an hour, and then it has to go into a machine, a spray booth. And then once we get it over to a spray booth, we have, let's see. Now let's go back. So once we get it over to the spray booth, we'll spray it. We'll finish it up and then demask it after we've done, and then send it back to finish grind. When we send it back over to finish grind, we will do all the finish grind on it, and we will die check that area again. Now, one of the things that we do that's a little different, just to make sure, is once we put it back up between centers, because now we've heated this shaft up that's maybe 2 inches in diameter a lot of times on these pump shafts, we will die check, we'll center it to make sure it's running straight again. We'll put our indicator back up to make sure that that heat did not deflect it and make it run out. So that's just one of the little things we got to make sure that we do. Next thing is we go in, we do the finish grind. We make sure that there's no waves in that coating. We bring it back down to probably a 8 or better finish, and then we'll die check it from there. And then once it passes die check, QC comes over, mics it, make sure it's all within spec, and then it's ready to be shipped and ready to go to our customer. So anybody have any questions on that? So one of the things that we give.
Wait, yes, we have some questions.
Okay.
You mentioned repair. Are you ever spraying them for surface hardening or for chemical resistance?
We do both. You're the customer, so you tell us what you need, and we'll give you the recommendations on what coating you want to put on there for what environment. So again, we're here to consult with you. We want to figure out what application you're going to need. And once we figure out that application, we can run it through your engineers and with our coatings that we've recommended, and then you guys tell us what you want to do from there. The other thing that we're going to give you, before there's any other questions, I don't want to forget this. The big thing that we give on all of our rotating parts is we're going to give you a runout report before and after, before coating and after coating. We are going to give you the dye penetrant check. We give you a certification with that. And then we're also going to give you a coating certification. So you're going to get 4 different things from us with every part that we do on our rotating stuff. Per ISO, per probably most of your specifications. Anybody have any other questions on our shafts? Michelle, we're good?
We have a question regarding the impellers. If a
Okay.
pump was getting eroded from pumping solids, are we able to spray the flow path of the impellers?
Yeah. So we can, I mean, it's difficult. Yes, we can. The problem is you can't really grind it. And if you're trying to hold a certain size, then you almost have to have that machined. And there's only a few people that can actually machine those once they've been coated without breaking through on the coating. So it's risky. That those are tough, but yes, they can be done. So let's talk about the impellers if we've got no more questions on that, and maybe I can cover some of that here. So a lot of times the impellers come in two things. One, these impeller bores are usually with a key, so they get locked in. So they shouldn't be moving on your shaft. The shaft itself moves, but the impeller should not be moving usually on the shaft. First, we place the impeller in a horizontal either grinding machine, and then we'll set it up. We actually have to make sure that everything runs true with the face and the ears. The bore runs true with the face and the ears. Very critical. We're going to put indicator on both your ears or your face and your bore to make sure everything is concentric. This is, this is a real critical part because you guys are going to have, once it comes back to you guys are going to have this balanced and make sure everything runs good and true. So basically we go in, we grind the bores, and then we're a little different from most coating shops. Most coating shops here in town do not allow you to have chrome plating. They only sell you Inconel or a carbide. Well, we have the ability to offer both, which again, one of the things that sets us aside from everybody else. Chrome plating has been the number one thing coating to be able to use in impellers for 100 years. You know, ever since they came out with chrome, that was been the number one thing. Not until they came out with Inconel and spray coatings did they start selling that. And because there's so many different coating companies, spray coating companies, that's what everybody offers. And it's sometimes, in some cases, it's a little faster. These impellers are pretty easy for us to plate, and it's pretty quick to run them through. So it's no faster than doing the spray than it is the chrome on most cases. But that chrome plating, let me just give you an example real quick. Chrome plating has a bond strength of somewhere between 60 and 100 thousandths PSI. Carbides, HVOF processes are anywhere, an Inconel is anywhere from about, I think 85 to maybe 11,000 PSI. Big difference. Your chrome in most environments holds up way better than an Inconel. Okay. So not that I'm trying to sell you on either one. You can pick and choose whatever you want, but we have options. A lot of people don't have those options. So going back to this impeller here, again, we're going to grind it. We're going to kiss grind the faces. We're going to make sure everything is good and straight. Once we finish that, we're going to send it over to the spray shop where we're going to blast it. We're going to check our grit pattern, and then we'll spray it. Once it comes back, we set it back up and we do the finished grind. QC is going to check everything for sizes. And then, man, we're usually good from there. But we're going to make sure that we kiss grind the faces, kiss grind the ears, make sure everything is lined up and nothing's out of whack. Anybody have any questions on that?
Yes. What is the benefit in using one chrome versus carbide? Why would you use one over the other?
Great question. It's all about your environment. It just depends on what environment you're using and what is going to give you the best results. You know, it's totally up to you guys. We can do either one, but we need to sit down and we need to figure out it, man, if this is in a hot slurry situation, then we need to probably use the carbide because the carbide will stand up better to the salts and the slurry and all that good stuff than the chrome will. Once you put in a saltwater environment or high chlorides or chlorines, things of that nature, anything that's super, super corrosive, then you definitely want to go with your carbides. If you got a water situation where you're just pumping water through there, chrome's excellent. So again, every situation could be different. So the guys that are just selling you one coating, man, that's not always the way to go. And usually, to go back to this, just so you understand, carbide is maybe that's a general question, maybe that's a trick question, because the carbide you don't normally put on the impellers because you have a keyway in there, and it's easier to clean up around that keyway with Inconel or chrome than it is anything else. Most of the time when you spray a carbide in there, you're going to wind up chipping that keyway trying to clean that up, and you don't want to leave any burrs or anything like that. So I don't know if that helps with your question, but that's kind of what we do.
Also, one more question.
Yes, no more
What is the
questions.
difference in hardness on chrome versus carbide?
Your carbide is a little harder. Your carbide's in the low to mid 70s, where your chrome is about high 60s. So it's pretty close to the same. Again, it's really going to determine where your application is going. Where are these parts going into? So, any more questions?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. So here's a prime example of us actually plating some impellers. So here you actually have a process where we'll mask off the impellers. And if you see right there, you got yellow tape around the ears and the face. And then when you look down in there, we do an electroplating. You see those burrs sticking off of that? It looks like barnacles on a ship. So when you have electroplating, it gets thrown, electrical current will be thrown to the areas that we want to apply the chrome, and then you have those barnacles that build up. I remember when I was a little kid, I had a fish tank, and we put these little deals in the fish tank, and you could watch them grow every day, and it looked like those barnacles inside that chrome, that impeller right there. You see that one sticking out? I just, when I first started here, I thought that was really cool. So sorry. So when we're doing the chrome plating, we have to calculate how much coating we've got, how big the bore is, how much time is going to actually be in the tank, and then we mask it up. We build a fixture for it. We stick it in the tank. We run the anodes, and then it's like watching paint dry from there. Usually, you've got now impellers are a little different because they go faster because they're so small. But typically, you have a rule of thumb is to say, hey, you got 1/1000th amount of chrome that will be applied about per hour. Okay. So that just gives you a pretty good idea. So if you've got 1/1000th chrome that you're putting in there, 10,000th chrome that you're putting in there, you roughly figure about 10 hours, 10, 15 hours, because you want to overshoot it a little bit. So you get some stock in there to where you can actually grind it back down to size. So I think we've kind of covered most of this. Again, before you plate it, you have to blast them. Everything we blast before you coat with Inconel or plate it, because you have to build that bond strength. All right. Any questions on that?
Yes. They are asking about masking of the impeller stack, like why it's only masked in those specific areas. Is it because it would put those dimensions out of tolerance? I think they're wondering why the entire part besides the ID is not masked.
Okay, great question. So here's the deal. These impellers look like they're made of 4140. I'm guessing they're made of a mild steel. One, two. If you've got a brass impeller, then we have to mask that whole thing, and you actually use a paint to do that, and that takes a lot of time. So hopefully, when we get back brass impellers, usually we'll actually spray those if we can. Sometimes when you get a brass impeller, though, the customer actually wants chrome plating. So that's it's a whole new ball game when you do that, because the painting of that, it takes forever. The reason why we didn't mask all the rest of this is because chrome plating, carbide, Inconel, nothing is going to stick to the rest of that unless you blast it. You have to have good surface preparation. Okay. So unless I go in and blast all of these impellers on different areas, then none of this chrome is going to stick to it. Not only that, I'm only running an anode. Did you see the shaft that he pulled out of the ID? That is an anode that actually shoots the chrome to the areas that we want. I don't have any anodes around the OD of the impeller. So we are not shooting any chrome to those other areas. So dipping it in the chrome tank is just going to discolor it. See, that shaft that he just pulled out is a copper shaft that we have to use, and it's called an anode. And that is actually hooked up to an electrical line that actually draws and drives the current. Any other questions? That was a great question, though.
Mhm. No,
Anything?
I think that's it for
Anything?
now.
All right, let's go to the next one. So here we have pretty good size impeller, because that's a 60-inch table there. So that's a decent size impeller. Here we're actually spraying it, and we're actually spraying that ID in there. So again, we've masked it. We have done everything for the preparation as far as blasting, cleaning the surface, and now you actually see us spraying it. Once we spray it, we'll bring it out of there. We'll let it cool for a while, and then we'll mic it to make sure that we have overspray, so that the grinder, it doesn't have to come back from the grinder to get more spray. You never want to do that. So you always want to make sure you overspray the size so that we can actually just keep everything moving. On this particular part, we're actually using our table to where we can actually spin up to about a 60-inch impeller on this and spray the IDs. So man, this table is amazing the way we use it. And we've done a variety of different parts, because we actually have, it looks like we're doing wire arc on this one. But we can actually spray with a JP 5000 robot that we have in there as well. This guy is not our robot, but I know he looks like it. But we can do a variety of things in there. So, any questions on the spray, guys?
I don't think so.
So are we good, Michelle?
Yes, we're good.
Awesome. So here we have a pretty large impeller. I'm just going to talk real quickly about the picture first, and then we'll discuss everything else. You can send us the shaft with your impeller. I understand it's tough to disassemble some of these, because man, you got to apply a lot of heat and get these things off, and then a lot of times you have totally distorted that shaft, and then a lot of times, depending on the size of the shaft, you're gonna have to make a new shaft. But so just so you know, again, we can swing up to 47 inches and spray on this particular machine about 11 feet. But we have those capabilities. Do not hesitate to call myself or Michelle to discuss all this. Again, the benefits of refurbishing or letting us manufacture something new. Man, I can refurbish your shafts. You know, if we're just talking a few fits, man, we can do that. If you're in a real big bind, we can do that in just a couple of days and get it back, get your customer back up and running, and get you guys back on the road. It's easy to do that stuff. Yeah, there's always stuff that comes up, but man, just call us. We'll work through all the details, and we'll do everything we can to make sure it goes smoothly. The cost of the downtime and manufacturing new or getting it from the OEM is usually, I mean, you know, normally when these things go down, you've got a refinery that's yelling and screaming at you. You got FlowServe or you know, DXP or one of these companies that's screaming and their customers is beating them to death. So, man, it just saves a ton of money and a ton of time. Please give us a shot, just at least quoting it and let us know where you're at on time sensitive. Let us know where you're at as far as what kind of repairs you need, what kind of application this is going in. Me and Michelle can help you guys out with anything. Just please use us and please use our resources that we have to the best of y'all's ability to actually save some time and some money a lot of times, because a lot of times you can't get these impellers. Man, these impellers are tough to make and they're just not sitting on the shelf. So guys, if you have any questions, any concerns, please give us a shout. We're always available. Again, we're open. Me and Michelle are working 24/7. You can never go wrong by texting us or emailing us or even calling us. So we've got a few testimonials. You know, we've done work
Wait, Jimmy,
with
we have another question real quick. Do we do work on the casings, like on the faces of the split case pumps?
so we
Like
don't
surface
do the
grinding.
welding on those faces. Is that what they're asking?
They're asking
Not,
about the surface grinding.
yes, we can. Now we're limited on size. We just got a surface grinder. We've got one over at South Coast. I think our capability is about 72 inches in length, and then we're only about 28 inches in width. So we're limited on size. But yes, we can actually knock down those edges. If y'all weld them up, we can actually just grind those split lines, and we can take care of that for you. It's a great question, by the way.
And then also, do we do the spray for the wear rings?
For the wear, yeah, we do bearing houses and wear rings. Yes. Just just get with us. Let us know
Repair and new?
what. Say that again.
They want to know new and can we repair the wear rings as well?
Man, we got to look at that. A lot of times those wear rings are made of different materials. So yeah, you can, but those are kind of difficult. Well, that's a case by case basis.
Okay.
Bearing housings, split housings, we can do. We do a lot of those. So feel free to holler at us on those as well. Any other questions?
I think that's all.
Great. On H&M Plating's behalf, we want to thank you guys for coming in and sharing just a few minutes with us. We really appreciate everybody that stopped in and watched the video. If you guys need anything, please, again, my contact information and Michelle's contact information is all over our website. And feel free to get with us. Michelle, do you have anything?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you guys for joining.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. Have a great day.